Welcome everyone to the show, Combustible Elements, real talk for real people. Here we try to put different ideas and perspectives together in a pot, heat it up, and get an explosion of knowledge and understanding. We understand that problems can only be fixed starting from the bottom to the top, building a great foundation for change and improvement. I'm Big Mel, and I'm joined by Ruben, aka the Monarch, and Aaron, the Hitman. Let's get started. Hey, I want to thank you guys. We're back again, Combustible Elements. We've been playing around with different things. By the time you'll see this, it'll be it. We've been on IG. We on podcast now form. Every podcast form. Look us up, Combustible Elements. Follow us on YouTube. Like us. Okay, that's enough of that. That's how we're gonna start off. We got to do a little self-advertisement. So we're gonna talk about addictions in America, addictions in general. We're talking about addictions because life is full of addictions, and a lot of people don't think they're addicted to anything. Well, we're going to see where you fall on that side of the conversation towards the end. Ruben, what do you feel about addictions?
I think whenever you talk about addictions, one of the main thing is people automatically go to like drugs or alcohol, and addictions come in so many different forms. And I feel like, as a society, we all basically fall into the line of addicts. And a lot of people are gonna look at this and say, "Wait, what do you mean I'm an addict?" Yeah, but the addiction could be in the form of any addiction is basically just having the need of something and basically going through some form of withdrawal when you can no longer have it. It can be food, it can be social media, it can be speed, it can be it can be so many different various things. Like some people like something that can be good, it can start off as something good and then it end up becoming an addiction. Like for instance, some people working out. Working out is healthy for you. Working out is good for you. Some people get so addicted to working out, then now if they don't work out, they start having all types of issues in their head. They start telling themselves different things. A lot of times they might start taking all types of different supplements, because they're so addicted to working out. And in all actuality, it started off as something that was positive. It started off as something that was good. It's working out is something that's supposed to, help you maintain good health. But we even get addicted to that sometimes. So I guess today's topic is more so just, being aware of all the different things that are going on in your life and basically trying to figure out what it is you're addicted to, and if it's something that's manageable, if it's something that's also detrimental.
Okay, so Aaron, how do you feel when you hear the word addiction?
But like
What
Ruben
springs
said,
to mind?
like a lot of people automatically think like drugs and alcohol as far as addiction, but a lot of people can be addicted to food, especially with social media now. A lot of people are addicted to likes and comments on their pictures and on their videos and stuff like that. When your phone goes off in your pocket, it's even been studies when your phone isn't even near you, you still get a syndrome where you feel like your phone is vibrating or you feel like you heard your phone because the endorphin levels in your brain go up when you get a like or when you get a comment on your pictures or videos. So like even when you don't have your phone around you, you still feel like you feel it vibrate in your pocket, or you feel like that you hear the ding to check to see who said something or liked your picture. So like addiction comes in so many different forms, and people don't characterize it as an addiction because it's not like a drug or alcohol, or they feel like that is not detrimental to their way of living. But if you have to check your phone every 5 minutes to see who liked your picture and who did this and who did that on the internet, that's an addiction. If you have to eat certain foods and you feel like you're going through withdrawal when you don't get a McDonald's cheeseburger, but you can eat a Burger King cheeseburger, it's not the same thing. You need that McDonald's cheeseburger. Like addictions come in so many different forms, and people just don't understand it because they just focus on the addiction as in addicts, people down Kensington and Allegheny type of addicts. But yeah, it comes in different forms. So that's how I feel
Well,
about
we're
that.
going to talk about Kensington. We're going to talk about Kensington and Allegheny, not to cut you off, but I like the examples that you came up with. Ruben came up with the working out example. You came up with food. You also came up with the phone, social media, and worrying about the phone. That's a real addiction right now. Um, People are addicted for popularity. Really, I mean, the social media is just a vehicle for it, but people want to be seen. But people always wanted to be seen. So when you say these addictions, I think Ruben said you feel withdrawal. I think you said the endorphins in your brain fires off when the phone ain't near you. And I think that's really how you typify addiction, even though we all know that some things we are addicted to, but some things may be a healthy addiction. Some things may be borderline addiction or borderline. It's a hobby. The number one addiction in the nation is cigarettes. You know, everybody sits down and they talk about, we're going to talk about Kensington, you know, let's talk about the hood. They talk about cocaine. They talk about crack cocaine. They talk about whatever else they using right now, oxycontins or whatever. But the number one addiction is cigarettes. And in my mind, the number two addiction is alcohol. Why? Because you can go in any direction in any major city and you can go 3 blocks and get them. I mean, so government even knows it's an addiction because if you really look at it, they always taxing it more. They're always taxing alcohol more. They're always taxing cigarettes more when they want more money. Why? Because they know you're not going to stop buying it. 15 years ago, I think cigarettes was $2. What are they, 10 now? 11? I have no idea.
So I have to disagree with you on that number one addiction. I didn't get to look it up, but I mean, if you're factoring addiction, and I guess if we just gonna go with the United States, you had to factor in children as well. And if you factor in children as well, then it's gonna be sugar. Sugar is one of the most addictive substances that people don't even know that they're addicted to. But if you cut out sugar in your diet, you will go through some withdrawals. And going through a withdrawal is one of the symptoms of having an addiction. But when we talk about addiction,
Okay, so
we go straight to adults. But you have to factor in the children as well, because children go through withdrawal when they don't have sugars.
I know my kids be going crazy with over candy, man. Like, you know, I mean,
this is true. This
I,
is true.
I got a sweet tooth myself, but I don't like candy personally though. So I like you know, pastries and stuff like that. So I'll be craving cookies and cakes and stuff. You know, I'm a fat kid at heart.
Yeah, I mean,
but,
Well, it's not that you're just a fat kid. I used to talk to a nutritionist, shout out to Nicole, and she used to tell me the way that they make stuff in this country is different than any other country in the world. They won't even allow it. Now think about this. People sit down there and belittle China for their eating habits, for eating dogs, cats, roasting rats, whatever they can eat. But they won't make bread the way we make it here. They won't use sugar the way we use it here. If you ever go to a Chinese store, you'll never see them eating the stuff that they sell. You see what I'm saying? And even in the Western bloc, the European nations, they don't make food the way we make food over here. Our food is made to create an addiction. So you're 100% right. I didn't even consider the children, but they're addicted. That's why we have an obesity problem now, because of the food. You know, it's not just McDonald's, it's not just Burger King. It's like everything you eat, unless you make it yourself, is overloaded with sugar.
But see, the thing is, even when you make it yourself, like, you know, ingredients, where are you buying them from? You know, it's not like we're growing our own ingredients. You know what I mean? So even when you make food at home, you might cut down on some of it, but overall, you know, you're still gonna get a lot of that same quote unquote bad substances into the meal that you're preparing at home, because where are you buying the ingredients to make the food that you're making at home?
Well, that's true too. The ingredients are a factor, of course, but the way we help with the addiction, the way we make food too. Like, I mean, the extra stuff, like sweet potato pie, you got to put a whole lot of brown sugar and all kind of shit in there. Like,
Man,
this is how people make their food,
how,
and it tastes good, but it's not
you
really good.
make it, you gonna make it, right?
Well, in a sense, but it would
Added
be.
sugar in your spaghetti and things like that.
Well, I never did that, but it would be nice if people address those addictions as far as like telling you this can be addictive and this can be harmful. You know, we know food can be harmful because we experience that. You know, we see that we were the fat kid, we see what we eat and we see how we feel better when we stop eating certain things. We see how hard it is not to eat certain things. Um, but there's so many addictions. That's just the first addiction, you know, and it might be a psychological effect with it because now you start feeling like, well, food ain't gonna hurt me, you know, cigarettes ain't gonna hurt me, alcohol ain't gonna hurt me. It feel good, so if it feel good, you just do it. So that could be the first start of that little slope, and everybody going off the damn cliff, and we starting with food. Um, what do you think is the worst addiction out there, Aaron?
That's hard to say because addictions affect people in a lot of different ways. So, I mean, I would say I'm gonna stick with sugar because again, sugar starts affecting our children at a young age, and then which can make them cope in different ways when they get older, when they start weeding out the sugar in their diet. So, like if they start learning about healthy habits, healthy eating habits, working out, like Ruben said, then you know you got to cut down on your sugars to if you want your body to look a certain way. But once you cut down on them sugars, then you're not getting that endorphin rush and not getting that feel good feeling that you used to get from eating sugar. So they might pick up a different addictive habit from not having that addiction and not having that stimulus in their life. So I'm still going to stick with sugar because again, we give our children even high amounts of fruit, which is natural sugars, can still breed an addiction because it's a sugar. So I'm going to stick with sugar because that can breed into other things when you get older.
Okay, I'm going to ask Ruben that same question, but I'm going to say this about natural sugars. Natural sugars work in your body a different way. It's still an addiction to it, but you don't feel that addiction until you cut out all the other bullshit. Like if you stop eating candy and you stop eating stuff with sugar in it for a month and you eat an apple or a strawberry, you're gonna feel like you just bit into something like the sweetest starburst or whatever, because it's gonna be like you're gonna the sugar's gonna affect you because you done deprived yourself of the bad stuff. And that's really what it's supposed to be. Like naturally, natural sugars during the wintertime, you enjoyed it, and then that was it. You were stuck because you couldn't grow the stuff. So you had to eat other things. Ruben, what do you think is the worst addiction? And Aaron, I should have asked you, what are the worst addictions, not just one? So if you want to chime in at any time and tell me anything else on the list, that's fine.
I would say attention right now is the most it's an addiction. It's the biggest addiction that's going on with our society today. And by attention, you know, because a lot of times you might give social media the bad name of like, oh, you know, people addicted to social media. It's not just the social media itself. It's really just the idea. It's just, you know, the likes and the comments. It's attention overall. You know, the need to be seen, the need to be, you know, the need to be someone or something, and just having that spotlight on you 24/7. Like, you know, everybody wants that to go viral. Essentially, like for a lot of people, that's the goal of them. It's like, yo, like I'm trying to go viral. I need to go viral. I need a million people to see me. I need a million people to know who I am. I need a million people to know I exist. You know, so that's the I would say outside of like obviously drugs and alcohol and cigarettes and sugar, like you said, you know, that's a form of addiction that our society. I mean, I think to be seen as something that, as humans we want, but we've managed over the last 10, 15 years to really, really put a focus and on, being seen and being noticed. Like if you ask most kids, under 15 right now, what they want to do when they grow up, they're going to tell you YouTuber. Nobody's trying to be a scientist. Nobody's trying to be like nobody's trying to be an engineer, but less people are trying to be doctors, things like that, because those things are hard. those require a lot of work. Those require a lot of years, a lot of sacrifice. And in reality, based on all the time you're going to put out to do that, it's not, it's expensive, and it may not necessarily be as rewarding by the time you're done. Because that's a lifelong journey to become a doctor or a lawyer or engineer or working on those different fields. Whereas a YouTuber, you got kids, you could start YouTubing at 8, 9, 10 years old. By the time you're 20, man, you already got 10 years in the game. You're a multimillionaire several times over. You could skip college. You'll hire that doctor. You'll hire that lawyer. You get more than enough money, to put them on retainer. But that attention, that if you can start garnishing it, at a younger age, and then you turn that into dollars and turn that into big coins, quickly. Well, not quickly, but way sooner with way less work on your own, as far as like having to go study and learn and going through residency and doctorates and different levels of colleges and everything like that, different levels of education.
Okay, so I'm gonna say two things to what you just said before I answer the question. So the first thing being, well, hell, I'm trying to get the 1 million views and to go viral for this show. I mean, I hope we all on the same page with that. The second thing is the kid that starts at 8 years old, 10 years old, like they think it's so easy to go viral. It's not easy because you got millions of people trying to do it. So if they're working 10 years to get to the point where they can go viral, ain't that the same thing as like going to be a doctor, a surgeon, or a lawyer? And then, I mean, yes, it's more work involved because there's more study habits involved. Yes, I understand that. But once you get to that point, isn't there more longevity in there because you put the time in? If you're any good at it, then you got a career for the next 20, 30 years.
No doubt about it. But the reality of it is the cost of entry is also a lot cheaper.
Well, that's true too.
I can give my kids a cell phone, let them record and keep posting stuff that they post. And then one of the videos that they post goes viral, and then bang. Now they got to, if I have the right funnels, and if I have the right, system already in place, once they got that attention that I was looking for, I got merchandising and everything else that I put behind it, and boom, we off to the running. Because just because you go viral, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make money. That's the other side of it. Going viral, it just means you gain a lot of attention in a short period of time. Monetizing that attention, that's where most people go left at, because viral and money don't necessarily go hand in hand. It can, if we're going to go viral right now, if we have, we've got quite a few episodes and we've got really good topics. So it would help as far as like getting more views to those topics, because we've already been putting out content for a good period of time consistently now. Now, whereas a lot of people, they want to go viral, they don't necessarily have any merchandise, they don't necessarily have anything. If we get a lot of views, we just get a lot of views. That don't necessarily translate into money. The money comes if you have a website. We got shirts, we got merchandise, we got mugs, we got different things that people can click and buy, and then we get paid off for those things, and then we start booking shows and live shows and stuff like that. That's when it makes sense. But to just go viral and just have got 1 million people that know you, and now every time you go somewhere, somebody recognize you. I mean, for me, I don't want to be famous. Especially if I'm still broke. I'm just being.
I don't want to be famous with money. I want to be able to walk around certain places and not be recognized off the
That's
dome.
my goal. I would love to be a quiet billionaire. That's what I'm looking for, because that way I can walk around. I'm buying a whole mall, but you don't know who you're expecting. It's an old white guy. The whole time it's this guy right here that's talking to you, and you don't even know who he is for real.
Well, we all have our agendas and everything. So to answer my own question that I shout out to you, what do I think is the biggest addiction? I think it's medicine. When you look at the list, I chose cigarettes because they populated the list and said cigarettes was the #1 addiction, and then alcohol, and then I forget what came next. I think it was heroin. But I chose medicine because I think medicine is a big addiction. Like Aaron said with food, A lot of poor countries, they tell you to change your diet, start eating this, stop doing this, start doing that. And then they correct a lot of the problems. In a lot of these so-called poor nations, people tend to live longer and the quality of life is better, meaning they can get up and down stairs, they can move around, they can jump around, they can walk a mile or two every day like it's nothing. So their quality of life is a little bit better. But medicine, a lot of times medicine just covers up a problem. It doesn't correct the problem. But what do you have to do? You have to get more medicine because you feel better taking the medicine. And then we're not even going to get into the portion of the painkillers, the opioids. No, hell with that. We are going to get into that. So, me personally, maybe about 22 years ago, I got hurt on the job. I fell down, I cut my finger. It was a oily and greasy situation that got into my finger. I had a cold, so the infection ran almost down to the nerve. So they had like all skin off and take the fingernail off, and they thought I was going to lose my finger. Fast forward, before they got to the point where they had to take everything off, they just thought it was a regular infection. So they gave me an antibiotic and they gave me a painkiller, a bunch of painkillers, so I could come back the next day and get it drained. Well, that whole night I just kept on walking. It just felt better walking. I was popping them pain pills. Like, you know how you get a pack of Starburst and you just want the strawberry one? So you just get rid of the rest of the stuff to get the flavor you want. That's how I was popping every one of them pills. Like the whole bottle I went through in a night. Then when I spoke to the doctor the next day, he said, well, how'd the Tylenol 3 work for you? And I said, well, it didn't work that good. He said, you know, it's codeine in here. Okay. So you should have told me that before I started popping them like that. So I was having withdrawal symptoms for maybe about a month and a half. You know, the bottle was gone. They gave me something less powerful to deal with my pain because they didn't want me to get addicted. But this is why I say medicine is a factor. And I say, when they say the opioids and people get addicted to it, people take Vicodins and Percocets and stuff, and it makes them feel better. And that's how it starts. And then they want to feel good all the time. And I think it affects your brain chemistry to make you want that all the time. So it's clearly an addiction, but it's an addiction that's been going on. It's not just the painkillers, it's regular medicine involved in it too. If you're diabetic or you have high blood pressure, or even if you have asthma, you take the medicine, you feel better. So what you gonna do? You're gonna keep taking the medicine. Sometimes you're gonna be proactive, like, yo, this look like one of them days. I'm gonna take the medicine before I need the medicine. So medicine is made to addict you to certain things, and it's a money game. Like medicine probably makes more money than anything else in this country. You know. So how do you guys feel about my little top addiction scenario or point of view, I should say?
I mean, I could agree yes and no with it. The last statement you said is made for you to be addicted to it. I don't know. I think a lot of things are made for you to be addicted to it, but it's up to you if you're going to end up being addicted to it or not. And that actually starts when you start growing up as a child, because that's where addiction starts. Not it like a lot of things, like if you lack attention in the household, like Ruben was saying, you know, a lot of things that we do now on the internet, social media, is to get people's attention. But if you had the attention that you needed growing up, you wouldn't be seeking and wanting that much attention when you're older. Or, you know, most of the social media is like younger kids. Like they wouldn't be seeking the attention that they need or desire to get those likes and those comments if you had that when you were younger. What'd you say?
It's some old folks on the internet. I said, don't get it twisted. Some old folks. It's a lot of old folks on the internet looking for attention too now, man.
Yeah, I mean,
it ain't just
because they don't.
Younger generation. Go ahead.
I mean, that's the thing, because they didn't get it when they needed it, when they desired it, when they coming up. Like I think I forgot what episode it was talking about. But basically, like they don't have a real foundational identity as to who they are and who who they need to be, so they seek attention in other people. So yeah, I mean,
Are you
it's
talking about the younger people or the older people?
both.
Okay. Well, don't get it twisted. The 60 now is the new 40. So they young. So they ain't as old as you say they are. They young. And this means that technology brings the world closer and it's interesting. You get information quickly. So that's probably why they addicted to it, the speed of it. It's totally different from somebody that was around for like 60 years, like just the speed of information, so
60
the
is
convenience.
40. I'm sorry. 60 is.
Well, this is from the dude that's what, 34?
I mean, I'm just saying, my dad's 63. Yeah, he's not gonna be out here telling me 60 is the new 40. No, sir.
Well, once you hit 40, you can have this conversation with him. Until then, young boy, sit down there and lick your fingers on whatever you eating. Just, yeah. Because we live longer and we feel better as we get older. When I was younger, I thought by 50 years old, I'd be falling apart. Now, in a sense, I'm falling apart, but I'm not falling because of body maintenance. I'm falling apart because just the bad cards. So that has nothing to do. We're getting off the topic. That has nothing to do with the addiction. You can be addicted to anything at any age. You can be addicted at 14. It can be food. It can be comic books. It can be a TV show. You just have to monitor your addiction. If you have to do that thing that you're addicted to and put everything else on hold, even if it creates a bad situation for you, I think that's where it becomes a major issue. Like, not just the person that's going to lose their house or lose their wife or their kids or whatever. Not just that, but even the smaller things. Like, you're going to get like 3 packs of cigarettes a day, but you work in a job paying you $8-9 an hour. You're not going to have no money. And that situation is going to continue, but you still won't get rid of that addiction. And then we didn't talk about one of the biggest addictions. And we talked about this amongst ourselves during the show, the lottery. When we were talking about like saving money, how many people blow money on the lottery every day?
That's another addiction, man.
Hey, how many people blow money on pornography?
Oh man, that's a whole different can of worms.
You get that free.
That's a whole different kind of
you get it free, but people go to the strip club. It's so many different forms of pornography. People still pay for sex. Like people still pay prostitutes.
That's hands-on. It's different. It's not different. I mean, it's still addiction. It's still addiction. You're right. I'm just joking around, but you're right. People addicted to doing that. Like, if I'm at a club and I see somebody make it rain, like, what you do for a living
is as you were mentioning when it came to kids, there's a serious problem as far in this country, when it comes to like one, child pornography, and two, trafficking, human trafficking, and that the addictions that we have in this country fuel different economies, and they fuel different, businesses and everything. So like, because of the money that's being generated off these addictions, they're never gonna go away. DMX had mentioned, before, that he was a child when somebody that he trusted, they were in their 20s, almost 30s, introduced them to crack cocaine, and they basically ruined his life, from 14 up until 50 when he passed this year. So it's like, people a lot of times that are addicted to stuff, they tend to like want to bring somebody else along on their journey or along on their mess, to take them and show them, whether they wanted to or not. And typically that happens to kids. They get introduced at a young age, whether because they've grown up in a abusive home, or they're growing up in sometimes a foster home, or sometimes they're not growing up in a home at all. And they're trying to find ways to cope. They're trying to find ways to get by, and then that ends up happening, man. And it's a terrible thing. It's not something that a lot of times that you think it's gonna happen to you, or you think it's gonna happen to somebody you even know. But a lot of people are struggling with a lot of different things, you know, and sometimes it can be seen, other times it can't. You know, like I've lost clients, you know, who've taken their own lives because they were struggling with different things, and you know, you think you know somebody because you talk to them every day, or you talk to them every time you see them and everything, but you don't know what people are struggling with.
You never know. You never know what's behind somebody's eyes. Uh, Mental health does fuel a lot of addictions. If we had more time, maybe we should do a two-part show on this one. We have more time, we'll try to connect the dots, because a lot of people act like they don't know that. People just want to know better. But we're at the end of the show. So we're going to do the portion of who's to blame. When we do who's to blame, it's really more of a platform of how we can make things better. But we blame somebody because that's what we do. It's somebody's fault, so we gonna say it's a damn fault. Aaron, who do you blame for the ridiculous amount of addictions in this country?
The parents, because again, it starts in the household. Like Ruben just alluded to, DMX got hooked on drugs, smoking. I believe he was smoking weed that was laced with crack with his homie that he looked up to that was older than him. But if he had a stable household, he wouldn't have been out in the streets. Hopefully, he wouldn't have been out in the streets trying to find guidance from older people doing drugs, something as simple as weed, because you can be addicted to weed as well. And then that threw him down the spiral. So I blame the households, the family structure, and then that leads to the government, because the government is breaking down the family structure. But I'm a I'm gonna fall back on that. Go ahead.
Okay, so Ruben,
I love Aaron's answer of blaming the family every time, man.
he like to do that a lot. If you a fucked up parent in his eyes, he'll show you, boy. You like to blame the family.
Okay, it's their fault. You know what? I'm gonna blame the village, man. You know, because it takes a village. It takes a village, and it's easy to put the blame on just, you know, the mom and the dad, but it honestly takes a village. And you know, in our case, in our society, we don't really have much of a village structure anymore, or as much as it should have been or it used to be. You know what I mean? Because realistically, you know, even if you got a mother and a father in your home setting, like that child, when they go into school, when they, you know, when they go on about during the day, like it's only two of y'all. That's only two sets of eyes, you know. But if you living in a community and everybody, you know, other people have kids in that community, and y'all taking it upon yourselves to be like, look, we're gonna keep an eye on and watch on all of our kids respectively, and we're gonna make sure we're trying to, like, you know, mold and guide and raise them the right way, the right way, the best way that y'all know how. I think overall we would have less different types of addictions in our society, but realistically, man, so much money is spent on advertising to make sure that we stay addicted. So much money is spent, you know, by our governments, by the people that are in charge of us, you know, to make sure that we stay addicted, because that's what keeps the country going. That's what keeps the economy going. That's the reason why they started pumping out all these thousands of dollars in the last 3 checks they've given out, you know, over the past years, because they realized that, look, if people ain't going out, people can't watch TV, if people can't do certain things, then we can't keep these addicts at it. You know, everything's gonna fall apart. So I blame the community. I blame the whole village, not just the 2-parent household, or, you know, not just the household.
Okay, so you two guys are on opposing views. I want to stress that, because Aaron don't never blame the damn village. He like, you, it's your kids, you do it. He's responsible for you, like the community. Big Mel is gonna blame those rotten, no good friends that are addicted to things and tell you it's a good thing to try it. Because a true friend knows that they're addicted to things. And I've had friends that know they're addicted to things, and they'll tell you honestly, you don't want to do this shit. You know, and just so we're clear, because a lot of people smoke weed and don't think it's an addiction, they teach you it's an illusionary drug. It's not an illusionary drug if you got to wake up and you got to do it every day you get up. You know, a lot of people think, oh, I can't be addicted to that. But you got to, you function unless you have it every day. So it is an addiction and it is a way to make money, which is why there's a price tag. They legalize it so they can make the money instead of it being illegal. So I want to blame those rotten, tired, low life bastards that take their friends and tell them, you should try this. This would be good. Come with me and let's try this. You know, DMX is the worst example. Somebody laced the stuff and didn't tell him, but it's a true example. He should have told him, listen, you don't need to get down like I get down. I'm your mentor. This is that. So I blame the selfish people. That's a better way of doing it. That don't want to be addicted to things by themselves. They want company because
Misery loves company.
Well, misery loves company, but we all live in a community and people want to be in a community. Even people with issues want to be around other people that have issues. Like they understand each other. And we all like that understanding. We build those kind of relationships. I mean, some of them are healthy, some of them aren't healthy. So I understand why this happens, but we got to come up with a better way to solve these things. So I want to thank everybody for joining us for Combustible Elements. We're on podcast form now. By the time you listen to this, we're on social media. If you have a question, you have something you want to talk about, you want to give your opinion on something, you want to come on the show, we'll bring you on. That's what we do. We'll talk. We want to fix problems. We want to make the world better, one person at a time, one topic at a time. Thank you for joining us for Combustible Elements. I'm Big Mel. I'm joined by Ruben the Monarch. Got tongue tied, and Aaron the Hitman. Peace out.